Did you guys know that changing brake pad is one of the easiest things you can do on a car and save you a buttload of money? For example, dealers want to charge you around $250 to $300 to change your pads. They will book about 2 hours of labor plus the parts. That is a big hole in your wallet when you can do it yourself for just the cost of the part, and this will only take you about 15 minutes per tire. So if you're like me, want to save some money, then you want to watch this video. So let's get to it. Okay, so today we are working on a 2011 Honda Accord. This is a 4-door, 4-cylinder, and the pads at the dealer cost me 60 bucks. Now, I highly recommend that you go back to the dealer and buy your pads. Don't buy these cheap discounted pads from auto parts store. Go buy the OEM pads from dealer, and you're gonna maybe pay a couple bucks more, but it's worth it because oftentimes it's cheap pads don't quite sit on the rotors or doesn't fit into the calipers correctly. So this is you and your family, safety at hand. So get some good quality pads from the dealers. Okay, so like I said before, this brake pad should take you about 15 minutes. So here are the parts and here are the tools that you'll need to get started on your 2011 Honda Accord. So you will need a 12mm socket or a wrench, either or both, it's up to you. A big C-clamp, a bungee cord, and a tool to take off your lug nuts. And like I said before, this is the part number for your 2011 Honda Accord brake pads. So here we go. Step 1, you want to jack up your car. And get your wheel all the way off the ground. Step 2, let's take the lug nuts off. That was easy. And it's a good idea to check your tire here, make sure everything looks good and is wearing properly. And this tire looks fantastic. So we'll put that off to the side. And while you're in here, it's a good idea to check out other parts of your car to see if you gotta fix anything else. So I'm gonna do a quick visual check with my flashlight and look at the joints, the bearings, look for any leaks. And I can see that I have a little bit of a CV leak on the boot on the right side, so that will get replaced. Okay, it looks pretty good. Now let's go ahead and take the pads off. So I'm gonna record this whole video in real time without any edits. Let's try. Okay, so on these Honda Accords, there are 2 bolts on the back side here, the top and the bottom, which is basically the that triggers the pistons. And you're gonna need to take those 2 bolts off. So let me go ahead and reposition the camera so you can see what I'm talking about. There's a 12mm bolt right there, and one on top right there. Boy, it's hard to see here. There it is, right there. So one here and one there. And the trick here is you don't want to take the whole thing off because then you got to worry about this brake line and other things. All you need to do is take this bolt off and loosen the top one, and we're gonna just flay it over like a burrito or a taco, right? So let's get started with that. Hope you guys can see here with the camera. Okay, here we go. That looks pretty good. Oh yeah, you can see there's a bunch of grease right here, and that's because I've got a little bit of CV leak going on. So we need to take care of that sooner than later. Oh, it's right here. Okay. So let's stay on track here. This is a brake job video. A little bit of bang. Should come right loose. Yep, just like that. And get the top one. There we go. Like I said, keep the top one loose, and we're gonna take the bottom one completely off. And like I said before earlier, this job should take you about 15 minutes. So there's a 12mm bolt. Put that off to the side. And now we're gonna open the caliper here. See how easy that is? So what you want to do, because this is, if you let go, this is gonna flop forward. So just take your bungee cord and find a place on your rig just to keep it out of the way, like so. Now, because I got a little bit of oil right here, I got it on my hands. Now I need to be careful that when I put my new pads on, I don't touch the brake pads with my greasy hands. Okay, so here, what you want to do before you start taking things apart is take a quick look and see what it all looks like, so that when you put the new pads back in, you got the shims and these little springs here and everything else in the right place. And so this is okay. So if you guys never done a brake job before, these pads just basically comes right out. There's a track down here and a track up here on both sides. You just want to simply slide it out the back and out in the front here. But first we got to remove these little springs right here. Just like that and like that. These are little, I don't know what you call it, little V-shaped hooks. Okay, and it's got a little bit of little notch right there that goes into the top of the brake pads, and that just kind of keeps everything together with a good tension, so that your pads are not shifting or moving around. Okay. At this point, another good thing to do is take your new pads and put it on the floor, so that when you take your old pads off, you can get the shims and everything put together in the same order or same fashion, because the shims on these are a little bit different between the back side and the front side. So let me show you that here in just a sec. Okay, let me get the camera out here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so these are my new pads. Here are those V-shaped clips. And here are all my shims here. Okay, perfect. So now let's go ahead and take the old pads out. So like I said before, there's a little groove right here and a groove right there. All you gotta do is slide it out. Just kind of wiggle it, top and bottom, and it comes out just like that. So these little, I don't know, we call them nipples or notches, goes right there. Okay, so the outer pad here has just one shim. So we're gonna go find the correct outer pad, my new one, and put the exact same shim on that. Let me tilt the camera a little bit more here. There. Okay, so this shim here looks like it's, well, they're identical. So it doesn't matter. Goes in just like that. Okay? And these shims fits basically one way and one way only. Okay, so let's go ahead and slide the new pad onto the caliper. So it goes like that, goes like this, And remember, like I said, keep your fingers off the pads because I got a little bit of grease on there. And you're gonna align the bottom notch and the top notch and basically just slide it in. Oop. Just like that. Boom, done. Okay, the back pads, exact same thing. Wiggle the top, wiggle the bottom. It comes right out. And make sure you pull everything out with the shims attached. Don't yank it out. Just do it carefully so that everything is still together. So you can put the new shims on the new pad. Okay. So on this one, we have 3 shims to put on. Let me just kind of take these old shims off so we can get a kind of a rough idea of what it all looks like. So here's the outer shim that's smooth, and the inner shim looks like a Jeep grill. So that's got to come off. Okay, so the new shim, here's old shim. So basically, the shim has 2 notches on top and 1 notch on the bottom. The notch on the bottom goes right here like this. Let me show you, get on the camera a little bit closer here. There's a little notch, there's a little groove on the pad itself. That single notch will fit right in there. And just like that. And the flat shim here goes into now. See the same thing with the flat shim. There's 2 notch on the bottom and 1 notch on top. That 1 notch goes on the very top here. I don't know if you can see the little notch groove right there. Just place it right there and slide it in and just clicks. So this goes on there basically one way. Okay. So this right here looks like just an extra. I don't know why I got an extra shim in there, but we'll put that back in the box and deal with it later. So now I can just discard my old brake pads. So you can see the difference between my old pads and the new pads. It's a little less than a half. Yeah. It's a little less than a half. But because I'm giving this car back to my daughter, I want to make sure she's got new pads on here because I'm a good father, right? Okay, so again, let's go and put this back on the rotor. Let's see here, let me position the camera in such a way that you guys can see what I'm doing. Okay. There we go. Okay. There. Simple as that. Now let's go and take our little spring clips here, and there are little holes on top of these new brake pads that sits just like that. And like I said, all that does is kind of keeps the brake pads from moving around, because as you apply brakes and off brakes and over time, these things there's not always a tension on the these brake pads. So it moves around in there. So all these shims and clips just keeps it all together and keeps the noise down as well. Now, all this grease right here, I'm gonna just go grab a towel and wipe it off. It's ugly, and I'm gonna get it all over myself if I don't. Okay. So now, let's see if this caliper just slides right in. And that's what I was afraid of. So here's the situation here. Let me get you a little better lighting angle here. So I don't know if you can see this round piston right here. So this round piston is what pushes, when you hit the brake, this piston right here pushes this round, I don't recall it, piston into the brake pads. That's what applies the grip to the brake, to the rotor. So what happens here is that this is out, we gotta push it back in so we can slide this caliper over our new pads. So let's go and do that. So if you remember earlier, I said you guys will need a C-clamp. Well, this is what you need a C-clamp for. You're basically gonna take one end of the clamp, put on the back side of the cylinder, and take the other side and basically tighten it up, applying pressure so that that cylinder goes back in. And we're just making this hole just a little bit wider so that we can fit around. You may have to do this a couple times here because as you tighten it down, it wants to come off because the back end of this piston here is on an angle. So as you tighten it, it just slides off. So you just gotta be patient. There we go. I think we got it right there. And just do it slowly, and you can see that piston is going in back into its place. Okay, there. Beauty. That's it. Let's take the bungee cord off, and now it should slide over our new pads just like that. Bada bing, bada boom. Simple. Yeah, F you dealers. Are you kidding me? Trying to charge $250 in labor for a 15-minute job? Okay, so last thing you want to do is you want to make sure that there's a washer behind this piston right here. You want to make sure that washer sits, let me see, get a better light back here so you guys can see what I'm talking about. There's a washer right here, and it's not square, it's kind of an oval shape, and it's got to sit on this little notch right here. You can see that notch where my finger's at. It's got to sit flat. That notch got to sit flat on the washer before you tighten it up. Otherwise it gets all kittywampus and bent out of shape, and things are not going to work right. So don't force things. Everything you do it slowly so you don't jack anything up. Okay. Okay, before we go too tight, let's go and check the top one here, make sure that's still in the same position, and it sure is. So let's go and tighten this guy back up and get the top one. Okay. Okay, nice and tight. Nice and tight. Okay. So that's all there's to it. Just double check everything and check the other parts of your suspension here. Make sure nothing else is, that needs immediate attention. Okay, looks good. So anyways, you guys, I just saved $250 roughly to do a simple job as a brake pad on my own. So I hope this video was helpful, and please subscribe and like, give me a thumbs up, and ring that bell to watch other videos that will be coming out here shortly. Once again, I'm Brian Plagle with FJ4365. Just want to say thanks for watching.
That's it.